Well, we found two of the East Coast masters from Canada, and we found Gary Dunning and Darren Sherwood. And guys, it's been an up and down week so far for you. Gary, what's up with this right front fender that's not the same color as the rest of the race car?
No, I had a little incidents of practice, but we got it fixed up, and it seems to be running pretty decent now. So,
This is the first time you've been down to Winter Nationals. Have you been down before?
yeah, first time I've ever been here. Yeah.
So what do you think of this event so far?
No, it's pretty amazing. You know, there's lots of people here, there's lots of competition. Track seems good, but only run on it for very short few laps. So.
Well, it's a little different than Oyster bed, but it's different on both ends. There's banking there, so you got to be a little bit comfortable with it.
Yeah, it might be more like 660. Like, yeah, bang. Yeah, I think we'll get the hang of it.
Oh, with a guy with a lot of laps at 660, what do you think?
Well, I don't think it's much like 660. Sorry, Gary. It's a great facility. It's a great track. I mean, the people putting on the show, I mean, they've done a lot of work. Obviously, it's not their first time they've done it, so they know how to do it. They're putting a lot of cars through here, practice. I mean, I don't know what the car count is, but there's got to be 120 plus cars here with Bandos and Legends. I mean, we've got 31 or 32 cars in the Masters, so it's a pretty competitive class that we're running in. So
you've been here, but it's been a few years. Can you liken this to Auburndale Speedway or Orlando Speedworld?
I don't even remember when it was. Started to date myself a little bit, but I think it was 2008 or 9. I was in Orlando, and then maybe the following year or 2 years later, I was in Auburndale. Auburndale was different. I only ran a couple days there, which is kind of a passing thing. Orlando was a lot of fun. It was very banked. It was nice, but this facility here, I mean, looks like the way they're doing it, it's good.
Now, before we let you guys go, FC09s, there hasn't been any at home that have hit the racetrack in Atlanta, Canada yet. What do you guys think of the brand new motor?
You know what? It's a learning curve. They're good in a lot of ways. There's a couple drawbacks, but at the end of the day, I think that's going to be the future. So jumping on the future now is probably a better deal than jumping on it later.
What do you think of the motor, Gary?
I think it'll be good. Time will tell. Darren finished 10th in the feature. I made it up to 12th. It's a momentum engine, I would say. So it's going to be a learning curve, to get the hang of running it. So.
And getting with those top 10 finishes is going to be the key of the week. Watch these guys throughout the week here on Legends Nation TV. Darren Sherwood and Gary Dunning coming all the way from New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, Canada. Oh, okay. Hold on. 1 second. Stand by. We're good. Okay, mics are hot. Welcome into Tim's Corner Live, episode 48. We were having a riveting conversation about Applebee's. Dylan, favorite dish at Applebee's?
Dip him like an Oreo shake? No, the Bourbon Street steak. That's what it is? I've never been to Applebee's.
You've never been to Applebee's?
No.
You didn't go on your Seattle trip the last time we were down?
No, and there used to be one in Halifax. Never been.
I
want to go to Waffle House, though. Someone sent me to New Smyrna.
Waffle House. Oh, did you just go to Corey Hall?
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome in. This is episode 48. Tim Terry, Dylan Langell, Denver Matchett. Denver, you're in our neck of the woods.
I am. We escaped the, lockdown. If anyone needs help escaping prison, shoot me a message.
Well, our restrictions are extended until February 14th, so no sports competitions, no games, anything else, but at least we still have a little bit of freedom where we can...
You can come to the gym with me, Denver. Yeah,
exactly.
Those pipes. Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't go to the gym, but I know you guys do, so I guess that's a start, right?
The boss goes,
you can't
the boss goes to the gym more than us.
The boss does go to the gym. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's
at least
why
you can go
here.
to the mall in New Brunswick, apparently.
Yeah, something like that.
Something.
Yeah. You at least at Regent Mall, right?
Well, other than the fact that they close at like 6 o'clock at night, which
you gotta get your workout in before.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do. I mean, what else are you gonna do in the winter?
There's not much to do in the wintertime other than maybe, cry, Or buy storm chips, because I hear there's a big ass storm coming this weekend. I don't know. Meteorologist Dylan Langell can tell us what we should be stocking up on storm chips for the week.
Now, was there something also about, did you go and visit the place that had the carts, Denver, and there was no fancy carts like Dylan said?
The carts.
Yes.
I went
TikTok
to the grocery
carts.
store.
Yeah.
And TikTok star Dylan Langell told me that there was some fancy shopping carts at Superstore, and there was not fancy carts at Superstore. So this trip to Halifax has been a 0 out of 10 so far, just based on that.
You didn't go to the Superstore near the IHOP. Did you not watch my TikTok that got over 70,000 views?
I watched it, but I don't remember. I didn't know there was a difference in the stores. Why, if one has it, why doesn't the other? Isn't that like discrimination against the superstores?
Well, newer, fancier one, because we got the IHOP and apparently a Popeye's chicken opening up. Boys, what are we talking about food and Superstore for? We're going to talk racing.
By the way, IHOP has all-you-can-eat pancakes. I was there earlier this week.
I did that on Saturday.
After you mentioned it last week, I ended up going on Monday. So
that's the end of the show.
Tim,
I got to go. Bye.
Yeah, okay, we're done. Close it off. Anyways, Tim Webster's waiting for the big announcement, which means we have at least one person waiting for the youngest member of our show tonight, Drew McEachern, to join us in a few moments' time. He's going to bring us some gifts with the East Coast Mini Stock Tour schedule, so that'll be out in a few moments. Tim Webster's waiting for that. We like people waiting, so we're going to leave him a couple more moments. Darren Sherwood is coming on tonight. I'm excited to talk to Darren because Darren has been involved in racing for the last 2 decades, from pro stocks to legends, everything in between. The intro was from the 2019 NX Winter Nationals at Citrus County Speedway, where he got to go down and do some racing. So excited to catch up with him. And of course, Tanton Wooldridge. The last time we caught up with him was prior to his 2 championships. So we're going to talk Bandolero racing. Big win last night. Dylan, I know your perspective on our race days are different than ours, but I think the race last night, the Tulco Electric Midseason Classic, was pretty darn good, considering we had the field that we had and the racing that we had.
Yeah, it was solid racing, and not to say that iRacing can get a little crazy sometimes. I think that's just saying it lightly, but nice clean race, only a handful of cautions really, and yeah, towards the end the intensity really picked up, but fun race with Tanton Wooldridge getting the big win. Brett Suggs hot in his heels there, trying to go for the win. A lot of guys had a chance to win that race. It wasn't necessarily dominated by one driver, being Tanton Wooldridge. So it's a lot of fun being back in the virtual booth with Paul and Mike again, and just a fun race to wrap up the mid-season point of iRacing time.
Absolutely, and some pit strategy coming into that one too. We'll talk to Tanton about that. By the way, if you're an iRacer, the LA Coliseum came out today, so you can do some laps around the parking lot that they have, and you can see it with the Busch Clash coming up on February 6th. But let's talk schedules first, and we'll first talk about another schedule that came out today, and that is the Maritime All-Star Sportsman Series, the Bass Series. Came out with their schedule this afternoon, presented by Auto World. Dylan Blankhorn, I know a couple of weeks ago, chatting with Dylan, he was excited about this, but here's the schedule on the screen, and it starts June 4 at Lake Dowsett, Center for Speed, a race at Scotia Speedworld on a Saturday before the IWK 250 weekend, Sydney Speedway 2 at Riverside to close the season off. They have all their sponsors lined up for those as well. You can check the press release out at timscorner.ca for everything. Dylan, your first impressions on it? Obviously, Riverside is the anchor racetrack for this one, so it looks like a pretty neat schedule.
And they're going hot and heavy there, starting at Lake Dowsett Motor Speedway. You got a lot of big tracks there between Lake Dowsett and Riverside. And, having a smaller track in Sydney Speedway, Scotia Speedworld, I'd say the Center for Speed is kind of like the medium-sized track in those bunches there. But very cool. It's very cool to see what Craig McFetridge and his whole crew put together. And it's just going to be a fun season for that new series coming up. And, and going right to Lake Dowsett, I know that was a date they weren't super sure on of where they were going. We were hearing one day, we were hearing another. But to start off the inaugural season for Mass at Lake Dowsett on a Saturday. So there you go, Lake Dowsett Motor Speedway fans and drivers. A little extra show for you there on Saturday, June 4th. And very excited to have them in Riverside Speedway, of course. We're essentially taking over from the Napa Sportsman Series. And their entry list, it's even still growing after they announced how many drivers were on it. I believe Phil Barkhouse and Brandon Carter were added to the mix there a little later on, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, speaking of Phil Barkos, we're going to try to get Phil on in the next couple of weeks. I know he messaged me late last week trying to get another date on, but we'll get him on here at some point. But Denver, the schedules are starting to fill up. The Mass Series looks pretty good, though. The list, as Dylan mentioned, for registrations looks pretty stout as well. Can't wait to see who comes out on race number 1 at Lake Dowsett. When I was speaking with JP, that was supposed to be their opening weekend anyway. So could be a big weekend on June 4 down there in Southwest Nova.
It's definitely shaping up to be a big weekend down there, and there's going to be lots of big weekends at tracks all across Nova Scotia in particular. The new Mass Series is hitting every corner of the province, I think, in all 4 paved asphalt tracks, along with the date at the Center for Speed. A really good looking schedule. I know a lot of people have been, making some comparisons back to the early 2000s with the Snap-on Sportsman Tour, and lots of great memories people have been talking about from those days. So this is a great starting point. Craig McFetters is a name everyone is familiar with in the maritime racing scene, and he's going to do a phenomenal job with what, like we said, it's essentially the continuum of the Napa Sportsman Series, and it's growing, and there's lots of interest. And like you said, lots of cars registered. So lots to be excited about here.
Absolutely. And dates starting to fill up. We see the Mass schedule today. We're going to see the mini stock tour schedule in about a few minutes time when Drew joins us, but have not heard from Scotia Speedworld yet on their schedule. I know the Oyster bed schedule is close. We're building their website. It should be within the next week or so. So that's to come. JP schedule is pretty darn close with their first date coming out. I think they're pretty darn close to releasing the rest of it. And then the rest of the pieces will fall into line. Eastbound is getting close, I believe, as well too. Smoking Joe says the flags are ready, so looking forward to seeing Joe and the rest of the crew sometime this season down at Lake Dowsett Motor Speedway. But speaking about a guy who likes Lake Dowsett and enjoys racing, let's chat with the man himself from the Passion Flooring East Coast Mini Stock Tour, and we won't leave Mr. Tim Webster in suspense for much longer. We're going to leave it just a little bit because I know Tim has a very long attention span, but let's chat with the Iron Man, Drew Mcecker. Drew, how have you been?
Good. How are you guys?
So far, so good. We're going to do the schedule in just a few moments time and keep everybody in suspense, but winter has been good. I know you guys are planning some rules meetings and whatever else, going through the motions that a series usually does. But how's the winter been so far, getting ready to kick it off in 22?
It's been going pretty quick, actually. Seems like this year's been like everything's happening faster than every other year as far as planning and stuff goes, hearing from tracks and getting schedules ready. So it's been good.
We are live and interactive with Drew Mcecker. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment in the chat as we keep going on here. This evening we are interactive, so give Dylan Langell something to talk about here in just a bit. But before we talk 22, let's talk 21, because it was kind of a rebound season, still dealing with COVID. That played effect on a couple of events starting late. But at the end of the season, same song, different dance. Dave Matthews wins the championship, but he was challenged along the way. I'm sure he didn't win as many races as he wanted to, but consistency goes a long way in taking that championship home.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of challenges. 6 races canceled due to everything that's going on, and it was definitely challenging. I had to make some decisions I didn't like making. But we got through it, and Dave was running hard at the end, and it ended up we salvaged a half decent year out of it, considering what everybody was going through.
I think the biggest storyline, besides obviously Dave going to victory lane with that championship, is the addition of the other makes and models. It was planned in 20 to do that, and then COVID kind of wiped the whole season out, and it was the debut of what we saw from Ryan McKnight in the Toyota and Marshall Bezanson in the Neon full time, at least. And then you had a couple of drivers hop on, guys like Adam White from Lake Dowsett Motor Speedway, and a couple of guys, the more family when we went to Scotia Speedworld. So I think overall that had to be treated as a success, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely it's good to get other cars run out with us, and and definitely saved our race up at 660. A lot of the guys came up and supported us there, and we had a really good race, and I think they had a good time, and hopefully we'll build on that this year.
And I know we had a lot of great partners hop on board as well. Obviously, you're sporting Joe's tonight. I see Glenn Nod is in the chat, so I want to say hello to Glenn and Brendan and all they do for the sport. But again, a lot of support on that end too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Glenn helped us out quite a bit last year. We appreciate his support, and he's back this year, and hopefully we have a half decent year, and hopefully you get a full season, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, without further ado, Paul, throw it on the screen. Let's look at the schedule for 2022. And I think it's one of the best schedules that we've had in a while. 10 races, almost 2 dates, or I think 2 dates at almost every racetrack except for Petty. And that the other one that's got 1 date in there is that one that's blaring in the middle. I guess we'll start in the middle and work our way the other way. Let's start with Atlantic Motorsports Park. If COVID's out of the way, we're going road course racing, right?
Yeah, we're gonna give another shot at it. That's for sure. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to go there this summer, and I kind of wanted to put it. We didn't want to really make it the end of the year. There's too many variables around the end of the year, so there was a good opportunity in the middle of the summer, and we got a couple weeks off after that. So I think it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a points race too. So that'll make it even more interesting.
And I think the great thing about that date is that there's a couple of weeks between, well, it's sandwiched in between 2 Oyster Bed races. So you go July 2nd with the Pro Stock Tour at Oyster Bed, and then go the 9th and the 10th at AMP. Then you got a couple of weeks off. And I think that's the great thing about this schedule. The League of Legends Tour had it for a long time, where they were, and you guys kind of saw it too in your first couple of years, where you're sandwiched kind of in August, week after week after week after week, 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and the long hauls are there. I think looking at the schedule, Drew, I think there's a couple of back-to-backs, but there's no 3 in a rows right now, as long as rain doesn't really affect a whole lot. I guess there is 1 3 in a row there with Riverside, Petty, and Scotia, or Riverside, Petty, and 660, but it's really a spaced out schedule for these teams, and it's 10 races. I like the schedule.
Yeah, it was fortunate to get kind of everything fall in line like it did. Hopefully, and like you say, no rainouts and stuff. I really like having a couple weeks off after AMP, because the guys are obviously going to have to set their cars up a little different for turn right and left. So it'll give them a chance to get the cars back to turn on the left again. And it worked out really good for the spacing, and tried to make it not so too many long hauls, close together. And unfortunately, we're not going back to Lake Doucette this year. I just wanted to maybe take a year off, and same with Sydney. Didn't really reach out to them because wanted to try to just kind of seen that the long hauls were kind of affecting a lot of guys, and so we're going to try it this way this year, and we're going to revisit some stuff next year too. So I think it turned out pretty good.
And you look at the spacing on this schedule, the first race and the last race are at Scotia Speedworld. Riverside, you go in June for an early date. And it's good to see that early date open up there with the Sportsman Series not there that day. And then the grassroots race on August 20th. The Oyster Bed's kind of like Pocono in the Cup Series, where it used to be, where they have 2 races bookending 1 month. And that's the closest you get to see the mini stock tour on a schedule. 660s June and September. I think it's spread out really well. I think these teams that are going to be competing are going to enjoy this, and I know there's a couple in there already that are commenting about the schedule, so keep them coming. And I think this is going to be a great season, and it's a complete diverse group of racetracks. You got a road course, you got a couple of high banked ovals in Oyster Bed, Riverside, and Petty. You got Scotia Speedworld in there. You got Speedway 660 in there. I think it really looks as a schedule to crown a true champion of maritime racing.
Yeah, definitely happy with, like I say, all the races, like having a couple each, of each track. And, if guys hit on something good, they can, maybe use that next time they go to the race. And, yeah, we're hoping, hope we get, some good turnouts for some, and there's a lot of big races in there. 6 of those are with the Pro Stock Tour. So there's some big shows and in front of some, big crowds. And I think that'll attract the guys. Hopefully we, find some good sponsorship. We can, make it some big paying races maybe. And yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. You mentioned the 6 with the Tour. You got 1 at Speed Weekend, obviously, is always a big show. And then the road course, and then the grassroots race, which is going to be big at Riverside Speedway coming up. You got some really big dates, and obviously opening on the 2-4 weekend with the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour on their season opener in Halifax. And that's kind of the home base for a lot of these race teams. So it's good to see that on the schedule. Comments are starting to roll in. Dylan, what do you got over there?
Yeah, it looks like a lot of drivers are liking the are liking the schedule. Of course, some stuff revolves around COVID. Evan Cadet pointing out that as long as the bridge opens up to not quarantining when we get back, well, I mean that'll be up to what's going on once we get in the springtime and summertime. But Drew, got to ask: is the Ironman getting back behind the wheel in 2022, or are you just staying as the man who's running the show?
Just gonna run the show for now. I'm hoping to get back maybe behind the wheel. Starting to feel a little bit better, and yeah, just more concentrating on running the tour right now. I've got in the back of my mind that I'd like to run a couple races. So definitely like to run AMP and PEI for sure. I'd like to get them off my list. So we'll see what happens, and I still have my car by then. Kind of had it for sale, but had some tire kickers, but no real grads on it. So I mean, I'm not going to let it go for nothing. So if I still got it, then a couple people help me out, and yeah, I'd like to get back behind the wheel, do something.
Well, Tim Webster likes the schedule.
That's great. That's great, because he's going to be working it. He did a great job. He did a great job last year, as race director, and I think he had a good time. Him and his son helped us out quite a bit, and yeah, I think it should be a good year. I'm glad he likes the schedule. It's going to be a good year.
Drew, looking at my Facebook memories a few days ago, it was a few days ago last year we had the live rules meeting at Passion in Burnside there, and Passion's back on again this year. How important is it to have those fine folks with the mini stock tour again?
It's huge. Big thanks to Wyatt for coming on board again, and it's good to have that that support behind you, and it's one less thing to worry about. It's a little bit of a cushion for, helping out to run it every week. And we couldn't do it without them, without sponsors to help us do what we love.
One more for me, Drew, and I'll throw back to Tim in Denver. Last year, you opened up the series to Neons and some of the sharpshooters at Speedway 660. From my perspective, being in the announcer booth, I thought it was very successful. What did you think of it? And is that going to be the same plan rolling into 2022 here?
Definitely the same plan. Can't really see any big rule swings as far as that goes. We're hoping to get some more cars out with us. Loved seeing Ryan doing good up, racing up front every race. I think he had a podium every race he was in, so that was really cool. Marshall was there every week racing with us, and we really appreciated that support. And I thought it was really good. And any other suggestions that that people think that could make it even closer, we're always open to stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was great. definitely helped us out when we went to 660, and hopefully they'll be out to support us again this year.
We have Drew here for a few moments, folks. If you got a question about the mini stock tour, maybe about the schedule, or maybe some rules here, quickly leave them in the comment section. Tim?
I do see that Mike James's favorite iRacing fan, Amber, is over in the chat as well. So I want to say hi to Amber, and I'm sure Jesse's chomping at the bit to get the schedule in his hands so he can do some racing with us this season. Last year, we talked about AMP losing the race due to COVID, but how excited are you to get back to Riverside International Speedway?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's been a while, a couple of years, few years now that we've been there, and always love going there. I think it's going to be a couple big races. It's going to be really good to be on that grassroots show. I think that's going to be big. And I think a lot of drivers are looking forward to it. A lot of drivers that didn't get a chance before when we raced there, I think want to come, and yeah, it's going to be big.
I think the biggest thing is the camaraderie on this series. And I've said it before, the League of Legends Tour is probably the closest, I think, when it comes to seeing guys together. And Wyatt had mentioned this a couple of times when we chatted with Wyatt at Passion about the guys in the pits. It's competition, it's racing. There's sometimes that little bit of rivalry in between, but for the most part, those guys are willing to help each other to get cars back on the racetrack and make sure we have a full field. And I think the banquet kind of summed it up, where our top drivers were there, all together having a good time and just shooting the breeze with the small group that we had. It's a smaller group, but it's a friendly group of guys and gals that like to put on a show and go racing. What can you say about the camaraderie that this series has, maybe that some of these race fans don't typically see on a regular night?
Yeah, I think it's great. It kind of was like that right from the very beginning. I think it was a bunch of like-minded people that wanted to do the same thing and had the same goals in mind to have a successful mini stock tour and bring that type of car, more to the forefront and put on a show. And I think everybody gets a kick out of it. Everybody has a good time, and everybody loves coming to the race and seeing people that they don't see every week. And I think it has worked out really good like that.
And I think it goes on that point too. Dave Matthews has fans in Fredericton that I don't think he really knows about, sort of thing. And he's gained that following up there. And you see some of the New Brunswick guys come down and make the long haul to Halifax and to Riverside. And obviously when we went to Lake Dowsett the last couple of years, those guys get that fan following. And it's great to see the tour have that following in behind them and seeing that those rivalries bud. And I know we have some B-roll of that Dave Matthews, Ryan McKnight battle at 660. That was phenomenal.
Some of our best races have been up there, even with last year, and then with Dave and Darren, and those were incredible races. So many people come up to you and say, wow, that was just, I had people out of their seat, and it's awesome. It's great to see that.
And the respect between these two. And I think that goes back to the camaraderie and what we talked about with these guys every single week. Yes, they want to go out and win. It's a race, it's a competition, but the camaraderie, the respect level in between these drivers that are on this racetrack, and we're seeing a little bit of it now on the screen, that they put on a show.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's really good.
Absolutely. I see Randy Titus is over there. Good to see Randy hopping in. It was good to see him join us at 660 when we were up there for this race that's up there on the screen now. Denver, what do you have for the Ironman?
Well, first of all, Drew, I want to say it looks like a beautiful schedule, and you guys have talked about it. First thing that caught my eye was all the pro stock nights. There's 6 of them, and then 2 big sportsman races. You guys are also on the card, and then the other 2 is I think kind of geared towards a mini stock tour spotlight. So really excited and looking forward to seeing you guys race a couple times. I kind of want to ask you, the mini stock tour is always, thought outside the box. You guys have, the pole challenge every week. You guys do the dash for cash. Are those going to return this year? And can we expect anything new maybe to be added to the show for the East Coast mini stock tour?
As far as I know, we're going to try to keep with what we're doing. Nothing really new. I'd like to try to work with a track to try to have single car qualifying. Haven't done that yet. I'd love to have that at one of the tracks if we could get them to bite on it. We're always open to ideas. No, I haven't really thought of anything new this year, but always open to ideas for sure.
I know it's been touched on before, but I got to ask, how exciting is it going to be, assuming things kind of open up? So, I mean, there's still a lot of uncertainty, but after the last 2 seasons, and all that you've had to deal with as the president with COVID-19 and the cancellations, if this season goes smooth, how happy are you going to be? And with that, what would you consider a success for the 2022 season?
Oh, definitely to get all our races in for sure. At least keep up the average car count that we have. I think we have some, like you said, some big races, and I think that'll draw a lot of cars. We're hoping to get, some more cars from each place that we kind of gained them last year. So, I'm pretty excited for how it all worked out, and yeah, just like to get them under our belt smoothly and no restrictions and, having to deal with all that and, people's personal, choices and all that. We all want to go racing. That's the main thing, right? We all agree on, we all love racing. We want to go racing. So I try to keep it at that. And hopefully we don't have to deal with any of that BS this year.
100%. I think we all can agree with that. Cut the BS. Let's go racing. One more thing I want to ask you. It's been mentioned before. The mini stock tours run, I think, every oval in the Maritimes. It's just AMP that's been left on that bucket list to check off. How excited are you to be able to check that off and say that this tour has hit every single motorsports oval, some sort of oval, whether it be a road course or oval track, every single sanctioned track in the Maritimes?
Yeah, that's going to be big. That's definitely a bucket list item for sure. The next thing after that would be to hit every one in one season. That's the only thing that could top it, I think. 10 race schedule, every track, the whole season. But it's going to be huge, and I just hope we have some good support from the drivers, and we're definitely, getting good support from as far as the officials at AMP, and they really want us to come there and get this, and we're hoping to get some fans there. They don't usually normally have fans to come out. They just kind of go out and race. And we want to try to do something different there, and try to have a pit party or something, or we definitely want to get some fans out to that race to watch us get that off our bucket list for sure. We want to make it a party.
For sure. That's always fun. Tim, what do you say? 2022 has barely started, but maybe we start talking to the track owners and making 2023 the year that they hit every single track in the Maritimes?
That would be something neat to see a race series do that. Because I know back in the day when we used to have those guys tour on their own per se, Drew, when you'd hit Shediac at the end of the year and go to the Atlantic Championships, and then you tried to hit Miramichi and race at Petty, and you just try to do your own freelance free agent sort of thing and go where you can go, and that's kind of where this deal started from 7 years ago now, and that'd be kind of neat to kind of get that all together. We're going to go to social one more time, so we'll make last call on social, but before we do, I see Matt Watson's over there. 2 questions about the road course kind of intertwined. the 9th and the 10th. So I'm assuming one day's qualifying, the other day's racing. And Matt had asked about a points race. You already hit on that earlier, that it was a points race. But for that deal, is it a 2-day deal? Is it practice qualifying and then racing the next day? Or are we practicing one day and then qualifying and racing? Do we have an idea of what that's going to look like yet?
Yeah, I think it's going to be basically the same format as we were going to do last year. You definitely have to be there both days to race on Sunday. The race will be on Sunday. It's going to be practice, and then qualifying heats on Saturday, more practice Sunday morning, and then the race Sunday afternoon. So that's how we are going about. We were talking about maybe getting on some weekend some guys there as far as practice goes, maybe like a track course or something, but I haven't really talked to them more about that. But it's kind of tough with the schedule going and stuff, and scheduling that out too. So yeah, I think it'll be good. Hopefully everybody will get there Friday night and make a weekend of it. And there's going to be camping available and stuff like that. We'll know more as soon as it gets, but yeah, we're hoping to make it a good event.
It's going to want to be a race that everybody is going to want to attend, whether you are a driver or a fan. And we might have some drivers come out of, and I don't like to use the word retirement because a driver never retires, but maybe some of those drivers that have never run a road course in their career to come out and maybe be buddies with one of the 4-cylinder guys and maybe get in a race car. We're going to go to social, but I'll steal this one from Tim Webster. He wants to know, do you know if there's any other classes at AMP racing on the same day?
Yeah, I believe their normal race weekend, we're kind of an add-on to their normal race weekend. Whatever they race out there, they have, I think, 5 or 6 events a year. So I think it's their normal. They have different classes. So I think we're just kind of like an add-on. I'm not really familiar with the classes out there.
So what you're saying is Tim can find himself a ride in another class and then race direct the East Coast Mini Stock Tour, right?
Oh, I'm sure he could, yeah. And like I said, anytime Tim wants to come out of retirement, and we can always find a race director for one race. That's not a big deal, right?
So it's just one race, right?
Well, yeah.
Don't twist his arm too much.
He can race direct, so
Can he race direct from the car? I know you can do that on iRacing. Can you do it in real life?
Yeah, I don't know if the other drivers would like that concept very much. The guy behind you telling you what to do and where to go. I don't think so.
Absolutely, he's calling for a caution in the middle of the race because he needs one.
I think you're going to see Cody. I want to give a shout out to Cody. He's listening up and in his shop in Ontario there. I think you'll see him come back for that road race for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. It'd be good to see Cody back on a couple of occasions. I know we missed him at the end of the season at Scotia, but I know he's living out his dream in Ontario. Last call social, Dylan. What else is over there that we might have missed?
Well, it looks like we might get other guys, Drew, coming in this series, like Travis Keefe. We might attempt a few races depending on funding. I got a couple of hypothetical questions back to AMP. Number one, and I know this is probably going to be a no, since a lot of guys probably remove this part from their car. But let's say it's a little rainy at AMP. Would there still be the race in the rain, or if there's any inclement weather, it's not happening?
Yeah, I wouldn't say for us. We're not really. I don't think any of our cars would be really set up for a wiper or anything like that. Yeah, and rain tires too. I don't know. Yeah, that would probably be a no, I would say.
And I know
that would be fun though. I mean,
oh yeah.
I mean, once upon a time in a rain out up in Center for Speed, we were racing in the rain just for fun, and that was pretty fun.
That was the weekend that Dave had problems with his trailer coming home, wasn't it? We stopped at Pizza Delight in Amherst. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Dylan, go ahead.
My other question with the AMP race, and maybe you don't know, and I'm sure you'll get clarification, but with that being a club race course for the most part, will there be local cautions in that race? Let's say there's a car that spins off the track? Will it just be you got to slow down and turn 5 and 6, or will it be full course cautions?
Yeah, I was kind of discussing that with Joel there from the track. We didn't really come up with a solid answer on that yet. We could really what they would like to see is go by their rules, which is, they have corner cautions and the race keeps going. But I think we kind of agreed on maybe having like a full course caution, bringing them back together as far as we go, because we were kind of going back and forth on that. I don't think we really come up with 100% on that, but I was leaning more towards, if somebody goes off, I guess it's situational too. If somebody goes off the track and, they can't get their car started. Well, I guess a lot of it would be up to the track too. We'll definitely gonna work on stuff like that before the race.
Another one here about the road course. We're just going to kind of go through the comments here. Randy Titus, I think he wants to get the road course bug out. He wrote, "Where can I find the car rules on the road course? Are there really any? I guess it'd be more so just adjusting the car to what you think will work, or will it be a fixed setup really?"
It would still our rules. It's still our points race, so it would go by our rules. I can't really see any rules being nullified by setting up your car to turn right and left. Because we don't really have a camber rule or a ride height rule. So as far as that goes, I think that's the only, it's still going to be the same suspension. There's not going to be any special tires or any special suspension or anything like that. It's mostly set up. So I can't see there being really any discrepancy with our rules as far as going road racing.
A few other drivers chiming in. They're ready for the season, and including the road course, including Chad Jackson and Austin Sharon. They're getting ready. Friend of the show, Fred Bannister's wondering, why wasn't there a date in Miramichi and a date in Shediac added to the tour this year? I know you kind of clarified Lake Dowsett and Sydney. With Lake Dowsett, you just want to take a break with it. How come no Miramichi and how come no Shediac? Just didn't work out? What's the reasoning?
Miramichi is another long haul. We definitely like to get back there. Just wasn't, like I said, I tried to keep it sort of central this year for the most part. But like I said, I definitely like to get back there at some point. Center for Speed, we had some races there in the past, and some stuff didn't really go so great, but we might explore that in the future. Again, it wasn't really, just tried to make it simple this year, but didn't want to crowd too much in. So I was only really wanted to had the intention of 8 races, but like every other year, it ends up it's hard to turn down something when you're offered a race, a big, like a pro stock race or something. It's kind of hard to turn down some dates. So I think it worked out good, but definitely open for stuff in the future for sure.
We got Jason Pickles chiming in. He says AMP sounds like a nice time, so hopefully we see Jason pull out the road course talent. Steve Austin, the flagman, not Stone Cold Steve Austin. He says wonderful schedule, going to be a fun summer, and it's great to be having Steve back on the tour, right?
Absolutely, Steve's great, and he is Stone Cold, man. He's our Stone Cold. Yeah, man, he's a Stone Cold flagman. No, Steve's great. Him and his dad help out, before the race and stuff. And yeah, they're good people for sure.
Dave Matthews says, ha 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 ha.
I think that had to do with
the trailer story.
Yeah, I think that had to do with the trailer story.
Tim brought that up, Dave. That was Tim brought that up, wasn't me?
some of those stories are whatever happens there stays there. I do remember though, because that was the race we went up, got rained out in Shediac, and I think was it you, Joey Lawson, I think was with us, Kyle McMillan, Dave, and Scott was there and got to do a couple of laps, and then Dave had issues with the trailer. It just happened to break an hammer, so we had a good feed at Pizza Delight, and then it's one of those trips that you'll remember. There's a couple of other pieces and parts that we can't exactly say on the show, but it was a good time nonetheless, right?
Yeah, it was a good time for sure. Yeah.
That's it's one of those stories that we might have to tell down the road. But Drew, we're running a little light on time. Mentioned those sponsors that help you out. If there's is there anybody else that's coming on board? And obviously they can contact you if they want to get on with this Passion Flooring East Coast Mini Stock Tour, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have lots of dates open on our races. We're open to any kind of working with sponsors, doing different things. We kind of like to think out of the box, so we're good for to try different things. So definitely contact us if you like to get on for one of our races. Glenn Knott's going to be back this year with Canada Connect, I believe, and Passion, they're supporting us this year, and haven't really heard back from Joe's yet. Still working on them, and working on a couple other ones for the local races, and it's going to be a busy next couple of months looking for some sponsors, but we're definitely open to any suggestions.
It's one of those things that it seems like this is the time of year where everybody kind of just wakes up and gets ready to go racing. And I know we're looking forward to it. Drew, I'm sure we'll catch up before the season starts. The website, the schedule will be on the timscorner.ca website tomorrow. And I know you guys are looking forward to a rules meeting in the next couple of weeks as well. So those fans and those drivers can at least keep tabs on Facebook and what have you, their emails, all that fun communication stuff for that, right?
Yeah. We're next couple of weeks, we're going to look at doing a Zoom meeting. If I can figure out how to do it.
It's easy. We figured it out tonight.
Tim's gonna try to walk me through that one, I think, off camera, but we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty you're lucky you see me on here like this, so but anyways, we'll see how it goes. Any of the drivers interested in coming in on the meeting, it's just basically going to be a drivers meeting / rules meeting. Like I say, I can't really see any big changes. I've been asking some drivers, they really don't see anything that has to be addressed at the rules. So still going to run Legend tires and who's got them, and I'm sure guys will be transitioning to other stuff. So definitely keep an eye on our social.
Absolutely. This has been fun. We'll get Paul to pop the schedule up one more time for those that are struggling in late that might not have seen the schedule. We'll get it popped up on the screen one more time. Drew, this has been fun. Thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll talk to you before the racing season starts, I'm sure.
For sure. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon enough.
That's Drew Mcecker from the Passion Flooring and Interiors East Coast Mini Stock Tour, and their schedule kicks off coming up on May 21st, the 2-4 weekend at Scotia Speedworld, and going to be a busy season in Denver. Drew kind of mentioned it. We've got advertising space open as well, so if you're looking to hop on board with the Tim's Corner side of things, get a hold of us. The TV schedule's coming together with all the schedules and what have you, so exciting time. So if you're looking to advertise your business, you can contact us and hop on board, right?
Absolutely, Tim. It's going to be a busy season and lots of opportunities, and going to be lots of exposure as well. So, hop on board, give Tim a call, and, you'll get your money's worth. That's for sure. You'll reach lots of fans. And Tim, I think the big thing, stock car fans and the drivers, they are passionate about the sponsors and they support the sponsors as well.
Absolutely. And we got a good group that's on board and looking forward to seeing their faces once again in the 2022 season. But speaking of familiar faces, I'm excited to catch up with this guy. It's been way too long. Driver of the number 38 Legend car. He's been involved in racing for over 2 decades behind the wheel of various race cars. Darren Sherwood, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Tim?
Not too bad. How's the winter been so far, getting ready for this 2022 season?
The winter's been pretty slow, really. Just dealing with snow, doing a little snowmobiling.
Getting ready to ease into it, right?
Yeah, I don't know what 2022 is going to bring for me this year. We've talked a little bit about maybe slowing down and cutting back. There's been a little bit of talk maybe retirement, but time will tell, I guess.
Race car drivers never retire. You know that, right?
Oh, I know.
I guess we'll
just don't tell my wife that.
Okay. Well, she won't hear what we're talking about anyway, right?
Probably not.
For those that don't know, let's start at the beginning. How did you get your start in this racing business?
Well, I was around Riverglade Speedway as a kid for a lot of years. Went and watched, back in the day with Frank Fraser and all of those guys. And there was a lot of guys in my neighborhood that raced when I was a kid. There was Walter Constantine and Charlie Wilson, Gary McConnell, Terry Steve. Just there was always race cars around the neighborhood, and we used to go to the Riverglade racing every Sunday night. We'd go up and watch, and just kind of got the bug. And it took me probably 4 or 5 years to get a car and to get a place to work out of, and to be able to afford it. So that all happened about 1997 was my first full year of racing. I bought a car from Steve Biddington and oh my Lord, I can't think of his name now. That's terrible. But I bought that in the fall of 96, which 96 was the first year Shediac opened. So I bought it after season was done down there, and just the bad habit started from there.
So you mentioned Riverglade Speedway. I know you did a lot of racing with the late model at Speedway 660, but where did you first get your start? Where did you first attack the racetrack in 97?
We went to Shediac. That would have been the second year they were in operation. Gary McLean was kind of operating it for Donald Brunn back then, and we pretty much ran the full schedule from the long weekend in May right through till, I'm going to say it was probably the long weekend in September when it was all said and done.
And by the way, I do see that Greg Turner's over there watching. So speaking about Shediac, I want to say hello to Greg and his folks over there. But the boom that happened when the Center for Speed opened, Can-Am Speedway back in the day. What do you remember about getting there and seeing those big crowds and those big car counts and just the birth of that racetrack?
Yeah, it really sparked a lot of interest in a lot of people. There was a lot of new faces that came around. There was a lot of old faces that kind of came out of the woodwork as well. I remember going there in '96 when they first opened to watch what was the McEachern tour back then, and it was a 6 o'clock start on a Saturday night, and we'd be there at 11 o'clock Saturday morning, and you had to be there that early to get a seat in the stands. I mean, the place was packed. It was an incredible facility at that particular time.
So get the racing done in Shediac, and you do some racing at Speedway 660. How did you come up through the ranks? And obviously we'll transition into the pro stock days, because you have a podium in that big show up in Fredericton early in your career too. So how did that all come to be to hop in a pro stock and go racing on that circuit?
Well, like I said, we started in '97 in Shediac. We ran down there pretty well for 3 years. We did go to 660 a couple times. I think 1999, between Gary McLean, I think Dan Eddy was involved in this as well. They did the Snap-on Sportsman Tour, and it started off as a weekend deal, and then it went into more of a weekend here and a weekend there and a weekend somewhere else. So we did that up until 2000. And in 2000, we built a brand new sportsman car. And we went basically full-time 660 in 2000 and 2001 in a sportsman car. And being up there watching their regular weekly pro stock class kind of got me the urge, like, this is something I think I want to try. And Sean Tucker was around now and again when he wasn't racing. Plus, they were there when the Pro Stock Tour was there. And I think it was 2001. Center for Speed had their October big race that they always have, and Sean won the race, and he won it in the car that I ended up buying from him. So I thought, well, it's got to be a pretty good car. Sean McDowell, he beat Kirk Tebow and a whole host of guys that had been running the Maritime Pro Stock Tour for a long time. So 2002 was our first full year in Pro Stock at 660. So it was definitely a learning curve going from a sportsman car to a Pro Stock car.
Absolutely. And looking into that podium finish that you had in the 250, obviously that event has grown in leaps and bounds, and, thousands of people, hundreds of campers and what have you. You were there for those first couple of races, and you were able to grab a trophy from one of those early shows. What do you remember about that event and being able to see that thing grow into what it is today?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely something that Chris Johnson and Steve Burns had a vision, and they really, they really put a lot of effort into that. And I remember Chris telling me that, it was a 12-month year deal for them. Like the day that was done, they started working on the next year's event, to try to figure out what they were going to do and how they're going to do it. So I remember the very first year that they ran it, and there was maybe 100 trailers there in the parking lot off to the side, and every year it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I don't know what their biggest number of campers have been there or what their largest number of cars that they've had there, but I remember having to go to the last chance race. It's when there's 35 cars or 40 Pro Stock cars there, and you're getting some of the heavy guys from the US there, it's a tough battle. Whether you're a weekly race with there or not, you're competing against some of the best guys around. So for us, it was 2004 was the year that we had the podium finish, and we took the lead late in the race. It was probably, 30 laps to go, and I remember passing John Fleming actually for the lead. And we got spun early in the day, and it was kind of just a lazy spin to the infield. It was kind of a no harm, no foul thing, so we thought. As the race went on late in the race, when we were leading, we had a couple restarts, and Sean Tucker was on the outside of me, and I realized that I had no brakes. Every time, like, I'd have brakes for maybe a couple laps, and then it'd just go to the floor, go to the floor, go to the floor. So anyway, Sean ended up getting me with 15 to go. And after the race, we checked, and one of the crossover tubes on the brake caliper had cracked during that lazy spin. So it was one of those $10 parts cost me $10,000. So
Absolutely, but still to be on the podium is something big on that. Social media is lighting up. We're live and interactive with Darren Sherwood. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment. Mr. Langell, what do you got over there?
A couple of things here. Darren, thanks for coming on here tonight. Fred Bannister always watches with TCM Live. He wrote, Darren is a wheelman. He can drive anything, and he gets good finishes out of it. Best of luck to you in 2022. Tim brought up running some different cars there. You're in the Legend. What would you say is your favorite race car to drive, Darren, out of all of them that you've had the chance to get behind?
Oh, the Pro Stock for sure was my favorite. The Legend car would definitely be the toughest. A lot of people look at the small car and think, oh, well, they're pretty easy to drive. They're small, but they're a handful. The guys that you see run them good, run them hard. A lot of the kids that have come up through the ranks and are now in Maritime Pro Stock Tour, I mean, they're a tough little car to drive, and don't let anybody tell you any different.
Driving that Legend car, and I guess compared to the pro stock. Which track is the hardest to drive a legend car on, since they just whip around so fast?
They're all hard in a legend car, especially today's guys. When I first started, I was one of the younger guys in the class, and I think I started in 07, so I was still probably, I don't know, close to 40, I guess, when I started racing. And now I'm racing with kids that are 14, 15, 16 years old. I mean, they don't have quit in them, they don't have let up in them. I mean, there's no break, there's no give. It's lap after lap of as hard as you can drive, and just go. And that makes every track a hard track to drive.
Jesse Thompson's watching, the announcer for Petty, and helping out at 660 as well. He wrote, checking in to say, hello, Darren. I can always count on you for a good chat at the track. And any good times hanging out with Jesse there at the track or in Victory Lane?
Yeah, I mean, every time I'm at a racetrack in his area, he stops over. Of course, his dad used to help Larry Gulliver at 660 back in my pro stock days. So he got to watch a lot of pro stock racing up there as a kid. So that's how I first met Jesse, was up there.
One more for me here, and we'll throw it back. Well, actually, quickly, Paul Moody wrote, Darren Sherwood is a wheelman, very patient. How important is being patient behind the wheel?
Well, it's actually quite important, but there are days that we all lose that patience for sure. The older I get, probably the more patient I am. But in my younger days, I can say I probably wasn't near as patient a lot of times as I probably should have been.
When does the patience go away? Is it when you're stuck behind a bunch of cars, or you start noticing, okay, we're really getting down towards the end of a race here, I got to pick up the pace?
You know what? There's a lot of factors about that, but I guess looking back over the years, there's been a lot of good side-by-side battles, with myself and other guys, and other, just watching racing. It seems today, nobody wants to wait any longer. They want to get to you. They want to knock you out of the way. They want to go through you rather than around you. And part of the skill of racing is watching the guy in front of you and seeing what you can do to get around him and where's his weaknesses. And it seems like a lot of that has gone away, I feel, especially in the legend racing with some of the younger guys that we race with. But you know what, you get knocked out of the way 2 or 3 times and your patient level certainly disappears in a hurry.
I'll go to my question here, Darren, and I'll throw back to Tim in Denver. With racing, Tim says there's the R word, there's never true retirement, but pro stock racing, if you're offered a seat, would you take it no matter the ride? If it was for a big race like a Fredericton 250 or an IWK 250 or any kind of race, maybe even one at the pro stock division in Oyster Bed?
I would have to say I would probably be fairly fussy about taking a ride in a pro stock at this point in time. It would have to be a fairly good ride with good equipment and good people around me. I don't think jumping into a car just for the sake of jumping into the car does anybody any good. So, it has to work for everybody.
Good answer there. If you have any questions for Darren, he's with us for a little bit. Leave him in the chat. Tim?
You mentioned the transition from pro stocks to legends at 2007-ish time where you went legends racing. It's been 15 years now, so let's go back. Why did you make the step from the late model ranks to go legend car racing?
Well, I still had my pro stock, and we were running it still full time in 07, and we ran it quite a bit in 08. I think we sold it in 09, but Ian Mullins started racing legend cars in, I think, 06 or 07, and Gary Bursey got a hold of me and wanted me to drive a spare car that he had in PEI. And I'd only ever raced in Oyster Bed once in a sportsman car, and it wasn't a very good experience. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll go back and try it. So we went over for the weekend, just, no expectations, no pressure. I'm not running for points. It's just, just there to have some fun. And that kind of what hooked me right there is that was, I believe it was the July long weekend at that point, and we raced the car for Gary probably 4 or 5 more times that year. Ended up buying the car from him and then running it a fair amount in '08. And then I believe Kyle Campbell actually bought that car from me. And then I kind of started cycling cars after that. I had 2 cars at one time, and it really became an obsession for me at that point. We'd run down to Halifax on a Friday night race, and you're driving from Moncton, and you're going to leave here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to be down there by the time the gates open and stuff. So we put a lot of miles on over the years legend racing. We went to Beach Ridge a couple times. We went to Unity. It's been a lot of fun, and but it's getting to the point now where racing with the younger guys, it's getting tougher and tougher to be able to compete with those guys and to get the respect maybe that you feel that you should have, I guess.
We got a younger guy coming on here at the end of the show that hauled from Summerside PEI every Friday night to win a Bandolero championship in Halifax this past season. Obviously, Ian had his success, but you and Ian back and forth in the late 2000s, coming to Scotia on a Friday night, as you mentioned. What kind of haul for somebody that doesn't know? Obviously, in Halifax, Friday nights a little bit easier, still not as easy as it is on a work day, but how difficult was that haul to make every single Friday night or every other Friday night to come down and do some racing down here?
Well, I mean, it's never difficult to leave work to go racing. That's never a problem. The actual driving, well, that's a different story. But we traveled together for a lot of years, but we never spent the night. Like we'd get done racing, we'd load up and we'd head home. I mean, there's nights that we wouldn't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning, and that makes for a long day. You were up early in the morning, and you drove down there, you raced, then you drove back, and we did that a lot over the years. Going to Antigonish, PEI, like very seldom were we spending the night somewhere. We were just going to race and leaving and coming home. So it was a lot of driving.
He was in a sportsman car here a couple of seasons ago. What's it going to take for somebody to twist his arm and get him back in a legend car for a show?
Well, if you could reverse the clock 10 years, he might decide to do that. But I'm thinking that's probably about the only way that's going to happen.
You mentioned the respect level in between the youngsters and the crazy old men, and we led off this show this evening with the interview from 2019 from Citrus, and that race or that week didn't go as well as you wanted to. But what do you remember about that Winter Nationals week racing with those crazy old men down there at Citrus?
Well, the one thing that I've learned about when you go to Winter Nationals, even though you're racing against guys your own age, a lot of them have bottomless pocketbooks, so they don't care. They just keep going to the parts trailer and buy more parts, and more bumpers, more fenders, more whatever. And and that's not all of them. There's a lot of good guys down there, a lot of good guys that we race with, but there's a handful of them, and but it is what it is. You know what you're getting into when you go down there. We had a good time. We would probably do it a little different if we decided to do it again. Gary and I have talked about, maybe going down again sometime in the next year or so before we're in wheelchairs and, on some sort of medication. But it definitely was a good time. And I would definitely consider doing it again.
Absolutely. And you got to work with Kevin Foisey down there. Obviously, having a team affiliation is always nice when you go down to one of those races. Kevin's well known in Canada for legend cars. What was it like to work with a guy that's won a Winter Nationals championship?
Yeah, he's a really good guy. He's very open. His book is open. He'll tell you, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm putting lead here, I'm putting lead there. Try this, try that, try this gear, try this air pressure. I mean, he's willing to stay with you. He's willing to stay late at the track with you and help you and do whatever you want him to do or whatever he can do to try to help you. there's not a lot of those guys out there that are willing to just open up their playbook like that.
Absolutely. Great bunch of folks. Got to hang out with them again at Peterborough in October. So good to continue to see them around. And I think they've got a little bit of a connection coming down with Robbie Thompson this year, but we'll let him announce that side of it coming down the pipeline. But we'll kick it over to Denver. Denver, what do you got for Darren Sherwood?
Well, Darren, welcome onto the show. I kind of want to ask you first, go back a little bit to when you were in the pro stock. So Tim mentioned about your podium in the 250, but there was the year after you got your podium in the 250, I believe there was a little bit of an incident that you were involved in. What can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, that was an expensive day. Yeah, we didn't have as good a car as what we probably hoped to have, because we had ran well all that year. Actually, at the year-end banquet, we actually got a watch for most trips to Victory Lane that year. So we had ran well all year. Just kind of missed it on the 250 weekend, and we'd been in and out of the pits, making adjustments, trying to get the car better. And we'd worked on it, and we're getting it better. We were still in lead lap. We were coming back up to the field a little bit, and I won't mention the car that was on the inside of him. I know who it was, but it's irrelevant at this point. They kind of run me a little high down the back straightaway, and contrary to everybody's belief, that sand trap doesn't necessarily slow you down. So I went off the back straightaway, just about in the middle of it at full speed, and the car was just like a rock on water. It just skipped across that sand, and it hit the bank going in the pits, and I just put my head back in the seat, put my feet on the floor, and went, "This is gonna hurt." and I did 2 complete endos and landed on my roof. So anybody tells you getting out of a car upside down is fun, it's not. It took me probably 15 minutes to figure out the best way to get out of there without completely ruining things on my body. The steering columns are quite close to you in those cars, right? But anyway, I get out, and I got the car flipped over, and we brought the car home, and so we were running for points that year, obviously, and the car was done. And 660 used to always run 1 or sometimes 2 races after the 250 weekend. So we come home, Sunday night, unloaded the car on Monday, and I was like, wow, this is done. So I called Brad Mann. I knew he had a car that he'd been trying to sell, and so I called him. I was like, it really doesn't matter what you want for it. Like, I need the car, so tell me what you want for it, and I'll come get it. So I got the car from Brad, and I ran his motor in the car the last race. I guess there's only 1 race left, and we had to do a lot of modifications to the car for my comfort, for what I was used to compared to what Brad was used to. So we spent a long week getting the car ready, and then that Saturday, because we were racing on Sunday, our last race of the year was on Sunday. So I spent all day Saturday at the track with it, all day, like literally from 11 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, playing shock springs, trying to get it to go. And we ended up finishing 4th or 5th in the event with it. And, wherever we were in the points, I don't think we really gained anything, but, we ended up salvaging, fairly decent years. So. But it basically destroyed the car. We took the center section, we took the car to Sean Tucker, he put a new clip on it, a new rear clip on it, and we reused the center section. And the motor, we sent it away, got it rebuilt, and then basically built a brand new car for 2006.
So that was definitely quite the ride. Like you said, it was an expensive day for you, to say the least.
Yeah.
And the highs and lows of the sport go from the podium in 2004 to upside down in 2005. I want to ask you, Darren. I heard a year or 2 ago you may have had a modified car in your shop and never actually got to the track. Is that true? What was the story with that car?
Well, I was browsing Facebook one night and I seen that there was an open wheel car for sale in PEI. So I got a hold of the fella and we ended up making a deal and I ended up buying the car. It never left PEI the time I owned it. It went from his shop to Gary Dunning's backyard, and then I sold it. I was sitting home one night and I got a message from this guy saying, "You got an open wheel car?" I was like, "Yep." "You want to sell it?" "Yep." So he ended up picking it up at Gary's and taking it to Miramichi, and I think they headed out maybe for the last race in Miramichi. I'm not sure. Not sure that it worked maybe quite as well as they'd hoped, but he's got a pretty good start for next year anyway, and hopefully he has an opportunity to run it next year and does well with it.
I believe the car has been sold again, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say who bought the car, but the car will be on the track next year. I know there's a lot of work going on in someone's garage this off season getting that car ready for 2022.
Okay, I didn't realize he sold it. I mean, I don't talk to him a lot, so but hopefully it'll get on the track. I mean, every class now needs cars. I mean, there's a lot of options out there now. With the four-cylinder touring, with the legend touring, with the weekly racing series at every track. So one more car in any class is going to help that class.
Do you have anything, Darren, left on your bucket list that you'd like to do, behind the wheel of a race car in your career?
Well, I said if I did retire from legend racing, I would probably at some point build a vintage car. I've got a paint scheme in mind, and I'm just kind of waiting for the right opportunity to come along. Maybe even buy one that is somewhat done or have to finish it or whatever the case may be. And I would really like to try an open wheel car. I've never driven one, and I seen Dave drive one last year at 660, and I'd like to try it. I think it would be an interesting experience.
What do you think, Tim? We'll have to get Darren with an open wheel car because Dave won his first start, so Darren's going to have to go out and win his first start too. And they race against each other in pro stock at 660, so Darren's got to keep up with Dave at least.
No pressure, right, Darren?
Yeah. Dave has kept up with his skills behind the wheel a little bit better than Darren has.
We keep talking about this legend car program, and we're seeing some B-roll on the screen now of last year, I believe, at the Riverglade International. But this program has come a long way since 2007. Most recently, the FZ09 and the Hoosier tires. Where do you see this program going in 5 or 10 years? Where do you see it going?
Oh, you know what? It's hard to say. I'm sure that INEX already has plans for 5 years out. When I started racing, we were on BF Goodrich tires, and then we went to the Federal tires, and now we're on Hoosier tires. We started off, or the series started off on 1200s, then 1250s, now the FZ09s. Who knows? We may be running electric motors in 5 years' time. I mean, it's hard to tell. The INEX group does a great job with the rules, with the cars. They've come a long ways with their constructing of them, even down in North Carolina. I mean, it was pretty common for people to go buy a car from them and send it to somebody's shop down there, get a flip foot on it, and get this done, get that done, because it might not have been done quite the way they wanted it in INEX. But there's a lot of cars coming off their floor now that are just hitting the track and going racing and are every bit as good as the ones that are getting touched on them. So they've come a long way too. So as long as we can keep the interest in the sport around the Maritimes, I mean, it's been falling off. Even before COVID, we were having issues getting guys to travel to Petty, getting guys to travel to 660. I mean, and I don't know if it's just because of the travel. It can't be because of the money, because nobody's in racing for the money. So, I'm glad to see the young guys and girls coming from the Bandoleros and you know, you have to remember, I don't think Bandoleros was even a thing when I started racing Legends. So we were really just drawing at that point from, you know, the guys from Sportsman or Pro Stock, or guys that maybe had retired and looking to get back into racing and felt that this was an economical way to do it. So as long as we can keep the interest in the sport, I think it'll be good. But who knows?
And I know you've had a hand in the last couple of years of helping out this landscape that we have with Legend Car Racing, being a part of the Maritime League of Legends Tour executive. I know we just had our AGM on Sunday, and it seems like there's a lot of new blood that wants to get involved. And I know you're stepping away from your position, but how important is it to have a role like that and see things from the other side and try to build the sport as we have it?
Well, I think that's key to what you just said, is seeing it from the other side, being involved, you know, as a board member, and I've been, you know, on and off the board throughout the whole time that I've been involved in Legends. I was on the board of directors way back in, you know, 08, 09, 10, 11, and then kind of stepped away from it, and then got back into it again when Ann Butcher moved on. And I'm not even sure how many years ago that is now. Could be 5, 6, 7 years. I don't remember now. But and now it's parents, right? Because, you know, kids that are 14, 15, 16 years old aren't really mature enough to be, you know, board members. So obviously their parents, you know, need to and should be involved at that level, so they can see the inner workings, can see how this works, and see what goes on behind the scenes to make this all happen. Showing up the racetrack on Saturday and complaining because things aren't going the way you want it to go, you know what? Maybe you should get involved and see what it does take to make this go. And I think that's important. And if, you know, those children's parents want to see this sport stay here for them to be a part of, then they need to be a part of it as well.
Absolutely. And it was good to see some new names come up and be a part of the AGM on Sunday, and only 2 series like that exist with the way it is, because you've got the Atlantic Modified Tour that runs as a society, you got the Maritime League of Legends Tour that does the same. So it operates a little bit differently too than what would be the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour, where you have one overseeing everything too, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're basically governed by the members, and, you know, everything is voted on, and, you know, things are done in a manner that are pretty much transparent to any of the members. I mean, if they have a question, they're more than welcome to ask any of the board members, and, you know, we can tell them, I guess. So.
It's good to see to continue to keep the sport growing in Atlantic Canada. We'll make last call on social. I know it's calmed down just a little bit over there, Dylan, but what do you got?
Yeah, we'll pull out a few things here. Brent Patterson, who's always with us with TCM Live. Appreciate you watching again. They're wondering, Darren, what is your favorite part of racing? And I guess we'll start with that because it's a 2-part question. So what's your favorite part of racing?
Winning. Doesn't happen near as much as I'd like it. You know, for people that don't race, even if they just go to the track, racing it's the whole experience of, you know, working in the garage, getting your car ready for race day, you know, driving to the track. I mean, I'm pretty much a one guy show now, but, you know, years ago you had 4 or 5 guys in the truck with you. You had to drive from Moncton to Fredericton, or Moncton to Riverside, or whatever. And, you know, that's, everybody's laughing and joking. And even if you had a bad day on the way back, you're still laughing and joking. You know, I've met a ton of people over my 25 or 26 years in the sport. And a lot of those people I still know today and still talk to today, see them at the track. And, you know, a lot of those friendships and relationships will last as long as we want them to last. You know, there's every aspect of it is a great aspect of it. You know, there are things that happen on the racetrack that maybe aren't so fun or aren't so nice, and, you know, maybe some confrontations in the pits, but overall it's a good experience. You know, and I remember 660. Being in the pro stock, we were usually the last show of the night. So by the time you went through tech and you got back to your pits, the fans were all in the pits at that point in time, and they were going around car to car to car and getting autographs and getting a hero card or whatever. And that was always nice to talk to the fans and have them tell you a story about one time if they see you do this or do that or whatever the case may be. So it's everything about the sport that makes it so much fun.
I'm not sure Brent was a little late getting in here, but maybe we'll recap quickly. He's wondering, how did you get your start in racing?
Well, as I said earlier, I
Sherwood
been around the
wheel?
racetracks a lot. Growing up, there was a lot of guys in the neighborhood had race cars and whatnot, and I'd always wanted to get a race car, and I was going to get a street stock actually as my first car. And the more I thought about it, the more I talked to people, the sports car kind of became, kind of where I thought I wanted to be. So I bought a car from Steve Biddington and Freddie Kruger in 1996, and 1997 was my first full year.
Looks like socials may be a little dry here. I guess we got one more from Brent. Wondering about the merch. If you do make a couple of appearances at the racetrack, got some Darren Sherwood hats, t-shirts that someone could buy maybe?
I used to have a lot of that stuff years ago when I was racing pro stock in Fredericton. We had a bunch of t-shirts made and hats, and there's probably still a box t-shirts somewhere with the picture of my old pro stock car on it and whatnot. Probably the odd hat laying around, but I kind of got away from that. It's for me now. It's just for the pure enjoyment of the sport and racing. I'm not really trying to self-promote a whole lot. I mean, I go to the track because I like going to the track. I race because I like to race, and there's probably people out there that cheer for me. There's probably people out there that don't. So that's all right.
One comment here before we throw back to Tim. It's from Craig Rogers. They wrote, "It was great meeting you, Darren, racing legends. Had a great opportunity to watch you race the 12 car and one, if not the best race I have watched."
Okay. Yeah, that was I'm thinking that was last year at 660 talking about it. Yeah. No, Craig and Sam are good guys, and they would help you out in a heartbeat. So they're, and that's the other thing about this sport that is somewhat amazing. You can have an on track dispute, battle with somebody, maybe getting an altercation with them and tear up some rigging, and they're over there helping you fix it, or they're there offering you a spare part, or whatever the case may be. It's a great family of people that are in this sport.
Certainly that's true, right, Tim?
Absolutely. And I know we got a young guy coming up here in a few moments in Tanton, Wooldridge, but there's a bunch of Bandolero kids in the next couple of years that are making their way up, and they're looking or have legend cars. So for a guy that's been involved in this sport for so long, what kind of advice can you give them as they embark on their legends journey?
Well, you know what? There's probably a lot of advice I could give them. But a couple things would be, be respectful to the other drivers. There's a difference between liking someone and respecting someone. And I may not like a particular person that I'm racing with, but I'm going to respect the fact that he's out there. I'm respecting the fact that his ability, and try to give him enough room on the racetrack to show that respect. Treat the sport good, and the sport will treat you good. You need the sport more than the sport needs you. That's the long and short of it. So the sport will still be here long after I'm gone, long after they're gone. Learn from it, enjoy it, and just be respectful.
I think that's some of the best advice that we've had on this show in a very long while. So we might have to clip that and use that in future. Darren, I know you don't do it alone. Who do you got in the race car for sponsors? I'm sure you have room on the race car for more marketing partners. Who makes it happen for you to get to the racetrack every week?
Well, the only marketing sponsor that I have is me. I don't go out actively looking for sponsors. I have a company that I sell portable band sawmills. I call it Sherwood sawmills, and I have them on the car. The car is actually Gary Dunning's car. He gives me the car to drive, basically. So I mean, obviously Gary's a huge supporter as well. So all I got to do is maintain the car and put parts on it, which sounds like an easy job, but I probably built 4 cars for him since he gave me the car. So it's not a cheap endeavor. The only thing I haven't had to do is make the initial investment. So, but you know what? There's been some good supporters over the years when I ran pro stock and stuff. But now with the legend cards, like I say, I just do it for fun, and I really don't actively look for sponsorship.
I know it's always good to see you on the racetrack, and looking forward to this 2022 season. This has been fun tonight, Darren. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up before we hit the racetrack, I'm sure, in May or whenever this COVID stuff allows us to do so.
Yes, Tim, thank you very much for having me on. Denver, thanks for all the questions. Dylan, same thing, and everybody that wrote in. It was a good time, and look forward to another chat another time.
Absolutely. That's Darren Sherwood, driver of the number 38 Legend car. And Denver, we talk about team and pit crew and what have you. We're always looking for people to join our creative team, whether it's in Miramichi, whether it's at any other racetrack. We're always looking to expand, right?
Absolutely, Tim. And I think this year just keeps getting a little bit busier by the week with more and more schedules coming out. So all hands on deck. That's what the case is going to be this year. We're going to need lots of those hands and, have some fun. It's a great team to work with, and, lots of opportunities. So, for those watching, if you want to be involved with racing, maybe you don't know the technical side of the race car, or maybe, the financial side of things is a little tough. What better way to get involved in the sport? Go to the track every week, and, you're supporting the track and the sport as a whole, but you're also still involved in a big way. There's no better way to do it.
And you talked about the technical side of things. If you want to join us on the TV crew, there's no prior experience necessary other than loving the sport and being able to know the, a little bit of the ins and outs, and, whether it's writing, whether it's producing, camera, what have you, telling the stories is all a part of this deal. So be sure to, if you're it's January. We don't go racing until May, but there's always time to get a hold of us and be a part of the sport if you can't be on the racetrack. I know there's a clip that Wade Wilson said 2 years ago at the International that, if you want to be a part of the sport, you can be a part of the sport, whether you're in the seat or you're turning wrenches or telling the stories on the other end. So if you're looking to join us starting in May, the schedule is starting to fill up. Get a hold of us, and we'd love to have you as we tour the Maritimes in 2022. But busy show here this evening. We move on to our next guest, and a guy that less than 24 hours ago went to the virtual victory lane at Hickory Motor Speedway for the Tulco Electric Mid-Season Classic. And since the last time we talked to him on the live shows, won a couple of championships and a bunch of races. Driver of the number 0 Bandolero, going to be doing some legend racing this year from Summerside, PEI, Tanton, Wooldridge. Tanton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim, for having me.
I guess we'll start with the most recent victory. Last night, the 200 lapper at Hickory for the TCM special events, and you drive the virtual race car to victory lane. How big was that? And especially with the tire strategy too, because there was a long green flag run in the middle of that you had to navigate.
Yeah, that was a special one for sure. I've been running your events for the past few years, and in the COVID season, and we had a few wins, but every single one of them came on dirt. So it was finally special to get that. The crown jewel races, the super late models on the asphalt track. So that was special, and it was special to run the Wade McKinnon throwback and put that in victory lane. So no, it was a fun race. It was long. Just tried to play the strategy and keep calm. I know I was getting nervous and and frustrated at some points trying to come through when the new tires weren't kind of working as I thought they would. But no, we just stayed calm, and I think that really helped us, and we pulled through at the end.
And driving the 81 car, obviously there was a lot of throwbacks on the racetrack last night, but how did that come along to get that one and put that Shaw's Towing throwback in victory lane?
I think that came along about 8 years ago when they started supporting my real life racing career. And me and Dad were kind of talking when it was announced that the race was going to be throwback, and we kind of said and got looking online for photos of Wade's car that he ran. So no, we found some pictures online on the Oyster Speedway webpage, and we were able to find a couple photos from what we think is his last race in his own car before he retired. I think he ran maybe a car or two a couple of years after that, but no, just it was kind of our way of supporting them and thanking them for all that they've done over the past 8 years.
And the camaraderie on the iRacing side of things, obviously you go to the racetrack in real life and you have a crew and you get to hang out with people and connect and network in that way. But I know you've hooked up with Brett Suggs and done a little bit of racing with him. So how neat was that to not only get to know Brett and get to know some more people in iRacing and connect and what have you, but to also be with a 1, 2, 3 and him challenging you at the end of that race?
Yeah, that was cool. And that's the great thing about iRacing is, I might be down here in my basement, but really I'm all over the world. I'm seeing these racetracks that are in all these different places and getting to race with people from all over the world. Like sometimes you're trying to talk to a guy and you find out that he speaks a totally different language. So that was cool. And I've never gotten to meet Brett in person, but there's been countless phone calls with him through Discord, and that was no different last night. So it's been really cool to make a lot of friendships. I know me and Caden Tufts have become pretty close, and I think without iRacing that might not have happened. So no, that's one of the cool parts about iRacing, and last night was cool to be in the Discord with those guys and get to 1, 2, 3.
We're live and interactive here this evening with Tanton. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment, and we'll get it on the air this evening. But before we get to social, Dylan, you got to call the win last night. What'd you think of that race?
It was great. Like I said, nice clean race in Tanton. I mean, you and Brett towards the end. It just what a fun race. And then even before, you and Ryan Libby were almost, and along with Ryan Messer, were on similar pitch strategy. You went in a little bit after Messer and Libby there, but like I asked you last night, buddy, did you think anybody else had a little something for you towards the end?
I think that the guy that was closest was obviously Brett, who was in second. I think that a lot of the Rev Racing guys, I know there's been a lot of commodity or adversity between Brett Suggs and Rev Racing, but I highly respect those guys and I think highly of them, and have learned a lot just watching and running with them. And I think that they had maybe just as good of a car. They just didn't have the luck come through the field. I know we all were kind of in that 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th area with the BSRM guys and the Rev Racing guys. And I think that, we all had equal speed, and it was just me who kind of got the luck and got the right lines coming through the field that really paid off in the end.
Now, I know it's iRacing, but could you hop into a pro stock here in the Maritimes as like a practice, and could you be adjusted to it pretty much right away, aside from, real life physics and gravity?
I think so. And I say that, at the end of last year in the 2021 season, I was very fortunate to get to drive a pro stock for, Chris Fournier and Troy Burke, just on Oyster bed. And I can't thank those guys enough. It was an incredible opportunity. And I can say for a fact that the real life super late models, or pro late models, pro stocks, they feel near identical with the iRacing pro stock, at least in my opinion. And I mean, obviously you don't get the G-forces, going along your upper body and neck, but through the hands and through the pedals, it feels very, very similar.
Tim, how old do you have to be to drive a pro stock in the Tour or one-off?
The Tour is 16, so we're pretty close on there anyway. But I'm sure that's coming up the road. But let's go back and talk. Since the last time we had you on the show, you were contending for 2 championships, and trying to navigate some schedule conflicts and what have you. But the end of the season, you come out with those 2 major championships. Obviously, Oyster Bed, your home racetrack, you've cut your teeth there. You've got all the experience there, but to come across and do what you were able to do with Scotia, how neat was that, and how neat was it to get those 2 championships in one year?
that was pretty dang cool. And to do that with my grandfather and my dad was pretty awesome. And, you know, mom tagging along for as many trips as she could. That was really cool. It was, I mean, every single weekend all summer we were gone racing, and I'd get off work Thursday night or off school, depending on what time of the year it was. And, you know, we'd go in the shop. Obviously we had worked all week in the shop, but we'd get everything loaded up and we'd be gone pretty well from Friday till Sunday. We'd get back home. So that was a really cool experience. You know, we didn't know if it was going to happen or not. We just know we were trying to do it, and that, you know, not many people had done it before. So we kind of wanted to put our name on that list, and with our great marketing partners, we were able to do that in the end.
We just came off chatting with Darren Sherwood, and he talked about trying to chase a Legend Car Championship in the late 2000s, coming from Moncton back and forth, and a lot of late nights. How many late nights were there on your championship hunt at Scotia Speedworld?
There was plenty for sure. I mean, Halifax was a long drive for us usually, but this was kind of the year that I really started to get my eye on the Legend cars and really working towards that and trying to achieve that goal. So there was actually a lot of nights where we would load up from Scotia and we would go and be going to Legend car shops, trying to learn and you know, looking at cars that we would possibly invest into to run. So that made for late nights as well. And I don't know, as much as it would be, you know, tiring getting home at sometimes 2:30 in the morning, knowing you're getting up at 7 just to go chase another race, I probably wouldn't change it for the world.
The last 2 years, they have all gone your way. We chatted on the last show about 2020, where you went to every single racetrack and you won a Bandolero race at every single racetrack you were at, and then winning the championships in 21. You've got a long list of accomplishments. Is there anything on that bucket list that you might have missed, or maybe you want to go back and maybe do a little bit better on when you look back at that Bandolero career?
In the Bandolero career, I mean, there's always mistakes, and you can, I mean, yeah, the success is kind of what's highlighted and what people can look at. But, you know, if you really dig deep, there's plenty of mistakes there. There's times I overdrove. There's times that I, you know, spun a car out when I probably shouldn't have, or looked in the mirror one too many times and lost a race. So, yeah, I mean, everything's highlighted. But when you really look at it, there's plenty of things that I'd love to go back and change, you know, in my eyes. So that's one thing that I wish I could do, but you can't. So you gotta look forward. And I guess the next thing to check off on the bucket list is, you know, I'd love to be able to do the same accomplishments that we did in the Bando and the Legend car.
I know we got some B-roll from the 660 Speed Weekend, and I know the Saturday night didn't go the way that you wanted to, but you and Chase McKay back and forth, one of the races of the year, swapping the lead, and I don't think you guys touched once. How neat was that to put on a show in front of a big crowd like that on Speed Weekend?
Yeah, that was huge. Speed Weekend is it's a phenomenal event. The organizers do an incredible job making sure that everything is organized and, you know, easy to understand or easy to navigate your way around. So that was cool. And they packed that place in on both Saturday and Sunday for the 250. So no, just being in that atmosphere and, you know, me and Chase being able to put on that show, both not just Saturday, but Sunday as well, was really, really cool. And, you know, I got to give congratulations to those guys. They had their stuff ready and they knew what they were going there to do from I think 2 weeks ahead. So that was a cool battle. And, you know, the Saturday night show, that was one of the mistakes that, you know, I wish I could go back and change, but you know, Chase hit all his marks and I think I hit most of my marks except for coming off 4 that one time. But no, that was a fun weekend.
Absolutely. Before we go to Denver, I see social starting to roll in some questions and some comments. Dylan, what do you got over there?
Sure, she's starting to light up here. We'll go to Tom McQuarrie's question first. He's an Island boy, and he's wondering, what's your favorite race car, 10? I don't know if he means that on iRacing or between a Bando and Legend, so we'll do both. What's your favorite car in iRacing? What's your favorite car you've been in real life so far?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I've had a lot of incredible opportunities, you know, both to be able to race in the sim and in real life. So starting off on the sim side, I gotta say I really enjoy dirt late models. That's one thing that I run a lot of, and my grandfather raced dirt for many years, so that's been something that I've been trying to learn on and carry on, I guess, his legacy on the dirt side. So on the iRacing side is probably dirt late models, and then, you know, tuning it over to that real world side. 2021 was special in the amount of cars that I got to drive. With Chase McKay's legend car, my own legend car, Matt Watson's 4-cylinder, and then the pro stock. So no, I can't thank those guys, and just I wouldn't say that any other one was more fun than the other. It's cool to run the pro stock, and that was incredible. But at the same time, I met so many people just running the mini stock and getting to chat with Chase and Dan. So to name a favorite would be very, very hard to do.
Ben Murphy's wondering, hey, Tanton, wondering who your favorite uncle around the racing world is.
I guess I might have to say Uncle Ben on that one. He's been a huge part of my career, and we always last year wasn't as much with Will not getting to race as much, and he's tied in with hockey. But I remember that year before was really fun. We'd be going up to their house on Friday night, getting their car ready, and then after their car was ready, they come up and help us work on theirs. And then, heck, if we still weren't enough for the race cars at 11:30, we'd load up and go to Matt Palmer's and help him work on his car. So that I'd probably have to say Uncle Ben on that one.
Matt Watson wrote 2 East Coast mini stock tour dates at OBS if we can make one work. So maybe there's a chance you do an East Coast mini stock tour race.
Yeah. I'm chatting with Matt usually every week, and we've been trying to get up to his house, but with the COVID, it's challenging and everything. So I'm hoping to get up and get to Matt's shop. And I know that, I guess last year we near got that opportunity to do an East Coast mini stock tour race. It was a wild day. Matt took me over to help him out, and I ended up getting in his car and in Cody Burns' car. And anyway, we were going to run the show, and then, with the age restriction, we kind of found out that the insurance, it wouldn't be, safe or the right way to go about the day. So we weren't able to carry on with that, but I'll definitely be talking with Matt about that.
Now, Evan Gaudette wrote here that you jumped in a Honda for the first time. You pull a top 3 at OBS, and he wrote, this young man knows the oval. What were the key differences between your Bando Legend and you hop in that number 27 car?
I think the highlight is, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive. So it's, as much as it's still a race car going around in circles, it's not hard to drive a car around in circles, but to maximize, we're talking tenths of seconds here, is what makes it difficult. So no, Matt was really supportive that day. He's taught me a ton, and just, him kind of give me, hey, if you brake here, if you brake a little lighter, if you get on the gas a little sooner, run a little bit lower. That was huge. And the work that he does on those race cars is incredible. You can look at his car, and it's the shiniest in the pits. It's got the most, in my eyes, time into it and mathematical. So I think just having Matt in my ear and right there was what was key with that.
One more here from socials, then we'll throw back to Denver. And Timmy, Troy Burke, Pro Stock Racer, wrote, how long before you're ready to take the Pro Stock over? And have you been working on your arm strength so you're not getting sore after 20 laps?
Yeah, the soreness was a key point whenever I got to drive their car. As much as, I guess I'm trying to figure it out. I feel like I'd be ready to go whenever. I know I've had a lot of sponsors, especially with McKinnon's, who have supported me since I was 8. So I'd love to run a pro stock as soon as I can, whether that be 2022 or heck 2030. I'd love to do it whenever I can. And there definitely have to be a lot of phone calls to talk with Wade and their boys, and talk with Troy and them. But I have been hitting the gym. That's been a key thing that I've always tried to take into consideration in my racing career. Is a lot of people don't understand how physically demanding it is with, not necessarily, lifting a weight or running around, because you are sitting, but it's the heat, and that can kind of get to you. So being able to overcome the heat is a big thing. And I think that your physical ability is a huge part to that. So I have been hitting the gym, and it's been, again, tough with COVID, but I'm trying to better myself every day for 2022. Yeah.
Well, how much you bench?
That depends, 1 rep max or reps. I don't know. It's been a while. I do CrossFit training, so okay. We don't do as bench press, but no, I just try to focus on key areas that can make me better in the race car.
You know what, Tim? Honestly, I think that is the first driver out of all this series about talking about actually go to the gym.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had a couple of older drivers on here the last couple of weeks, so I think that's probably where we're transitioning into. How much do you bench, though, Dylan? Like, you asked Tanton the question. How much do you bench?
Are we talking like when I was doing powerlifting, or that was before I was race announcer, Dylan? I was stronger back then.
Back in 2005, back in my day, blah 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 blah. Like, come on now.
No, I've shredding some pounds doing dry January. I'm fitting in clothes better here. My Texas Terry shirt's already loose on me, and I got it 2 weeks ago. Anyways, go back to you in Denver, Tim.
Dry January, TikTok, all these young folk things. Denver, I don't know what we're getting into. What do you got for Tanton?
Oh dear, what are we getting into? That's right. Tanton, I have a couple questions for you. I know we're running a little late on time. First things first, congrats on all the championships this past season and a great success. Now, with that, I want to ask you if there's anything is there anything you could change from your Bandolero career? And if there is, what would it be?
If there's one thing I could change would probably be getting, not just the Speedway 660 win, but getting the TCM Bando Blast. And that was something we had an opportunity to do last year, and we just quite weren't able to capitalize. But we got to put on a heck of a show with Chase McKay, and like I said before, congrats to them. And that's probably the one thing that I would change.
So looking ahead 2022, what would you consider to be a successful season in 2022, coming off all the Bandolero championships and whatnot?
I think just getting familiar with the legend car and trying to figure it out. It's as much as we had the success in the Bando. 2022 is going to be a learning curve, and there's going to be a lot of, I guess, dues that we're going to have to pay. So there's going to be a learning curve for sure. And I know I'm trying to do, I guess, the things that other people might not think of to try and better myself. So I'm spending every day, whether it's, going to work, because I mean, we aren't as funded as some other legend car teams. I know we have a lot of great supporters. But just some of those legend car teams have I guess not unlimited. It's limited, but very, very high budget. So I'm trying to do the most that I can to raise my funding with work, and then spending that time in the sim and going to the gym. So we'll do what we can and try and learn as much as we can in 2022.
5 years from now, where do you see yourself as far as your racing career goes?
I'm not sure. I'm going to work as hard as I can to get as high as I can, but I mean, you're going to have some luck and some great supporters along the way. So I've always said to myself is with racing, I want to go as far as I can. And whether that be pro stock, every kid dreams to go to NASCAR, but I'm not sure if that can happen or not. So I think just the biggest thing for me is not focus 5 years ahead, but focused on 2022 and doing the best that we can. And we'll see where that goes.
Before I throw it back to Tim, you've shown that you're a very versatile driver. You've won in mini cups, you've won in the Bandoleros, you've had success in the top three, I think they said, in the mini stocks. Is there any other forms of racing you'd like to try? Obviously, you've tested the pro stock, you're looking at legends. Is there anything else outside of that you'd like to see yourself get behind the wheel of? Because you've already done a lot in your young career.
Yeah, I love to run any car that I can, and that's one of the big things that I focused on in iRacing this year. Is not just running the asphalt oval stuff. It's actually running the dirt stuff and the rallycross stuff and road, and that's something that I've been trying to do. And heck, if I could ever get an opportunity to hop on a road course, go to AMP or the Thunder Valley dirt track, I'd love to take that opportunity. So I'd love to expand my racing career into many other aspects. So if you ever need a driver, I'm more than willing to hop in. You know where to find me.
Tim, Matt had mentioned the mini stock tour races at OBS, but maybe he should be looking at the mini stock tour race at AMP in July.
I think Matt Watson, with his experience, is probably going to want to do that. But we're sitting in January. That race is in July. There's 7 months to build another car. So I know Matt's watching, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. But Denver mentioned we're running short on time. But Tanton, before we close off, I do want to go back to that Oyster Bed Awards banquet, because you guys got a big award that night. For those that weren't at that Oyster Bed banquet, what did it mean to get one of the specialty awards?
that was really cool. That was unexpected, and Troy had an awesome speech that I know he did not write up, but was very, very thoughtful. And we didn't expect that one, but I guess the award's kind of based around helping others at the racetrack and doing everything along with that. And I didn't know Dave Mosier, but I know my grandfather did. So I know that award was definitely special to him and to my dad. So no, I'm thankful that we were able to get that. Thankful for the judges or the whoever was choosing that. No, that was very special to us, and we just do our best to try and help everybody out.
It was a big night for sure, and a big season overall for you guys in 2021, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in 2022. You mentioned those marketing partners that help you out, and I know you got a crew that helps you out at the racetrack every single week. Who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, I got to thank McKinnon Bros Service Center, Two Myers Excavation, Pino's Fuels, Harrington Hilton, Andy's Tire, Good Guys Auto Glass, All Weather Highway Self Storage Units, Andy's Tire. They do a ton. I know McKinnon Bros has already said they're coming on board again in 2022, and we're really excited to see where that goes. As well, I got to thank everybody that let me drive the race cars in 2021 with the OL Motorsports crew, Matt Watson, Chase and Dan McKay. They were the guys that got me in a legend car for the first time. So those guys goes a long way as well. Gerald Gallant, he taught me a ton of lessons in the shop. It's a long list, and it doesn't really end.
By the way, Troy said that he wrote the speech. Everything else is a lie.
All right. I word on that one.
He did have a sheet of paper. It was on paper, so at least somebody wrote it. It was just a matter of how it got on paper, right?
Yeah, and I think he actually mentioned in his speech that it was not wrote by him. So anyway, whether it was or it wasn't, it was very, very thoughtful. And we, somebody obviously put a lot of time into that, which meant a lot.
Absolutely. Tanton, this has been fun catching up. Congratulations on the win last night. And we'll see you on the virtual track between now and when we go racing in the spring of 22.
Thank you. And thanks to you guys for putting on these shows and all the iRacing events. It's been a pleasure, and it helps keep the sport going. It's some people kind of forget about racing in the winter, and you guys have kept that alive. So thank you to you guys.
We appreciate it. That's Tanton Wooldridge, driver of the number 0 legend car, and looking forward to seeing him on the racetrack in 2022. Boys, I'm taking a week off next week. This is your show next week. Yeah, I don't know if I know what I'm doing or what have you, but fair warning for everybody that's watching out there. It's Tim's week off. Can't tell you what I'm doing, but we're not in the office, or we're not in the studio next Wednesday. So it is you and Dylan Denver taking over the show. I don't know if you guys have any ideas on guests, but I know they can start flooding your inbox now and get on the show next week, right?
Yep. Let's just say Jesus take the wheel, and we'll have some fun, Dylan. I think the last time we did the show on our own, we had Jimmy the Jet on, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Everyone's going to want to mark their calendars, set their reminders, and tune in next week, because when the boss is out of the office, that's when things get a little wild.
It's going a little crazy, and you know what? Honestly, I'd be open, Denver, to having kind of like a little open segment like we kind of had last week, where it was kind of off the cuff, just having different topics kind of coming up there. But I'm sure we'll have a guest or two lined up, and we'll have some fun conversations like we always do on Wednesday. And we'll have to have a drink. What do you have in there? Like a beer or something? Jeez.
That's a Nova Scotia beer, Dylan. 9 locks.
Oh, Dirty Blonde. Yeah.
Dirty Blonde. Yeah.
Dang, how I'm so silly. I'm doing dry January. I just forgot my beer.
Right.
Like, no.
Dry January's gone out the window. So
what are you going to do during the Royal Rumble? That's still in January.
Oh, I'm making it 4 weeks. Don't worry. I got Bobby margaritas waiting for me.
There you go. We want to thank our 2021 marketing partners there on the screen as well. We're always looking to expand, and I know a couple of these are going to shift here in the next couple of weeks. So get a hold of us if you're looking to get on board with Tim's Corner Motorsports. But another great show, busy show. Thank you to Tanton, Wooldridge, Darren, Sherwood, and of course Drew Mcecker, and that East Coast mini stop tour schedule will be on the website sometime tomorrow afternoon. So on behalf of our whole crew, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, keep the hammer down. We'll see you at the track.